Hey everybody, Adhpa here. Welcome back. If you're new to the channel, my name's Adhpa. That's a nickname I use. I investigate human energy dynamics and work to try to get humanity to understand what human energy is, what the energy of the life field is, how those things combine and work together, and how that actually produces all the spiritual concepts and ideas of entities and beings, and everything is all really related to energy intelligences in the life field. And this is an area of reality that science has never really investigated, although quantum physics is sort of helping that process along. And yet humanity has always sought to know the answers to. So I have some theories. If you go back and look at my old videos, you can see those theories as I've developed them online. And currently I'm involved in a project working with AI to investigate those theories. And I do a lot of cross-checking through various AIs. I don't just rely on AI, and it's not a truth project in as much as it's an investigation of how AI can help humanity to investigate and reason through things that we have historically had trouble doing, hopefully to a positive outcome for everybody. So, and as part of that, in these readings right now, based on my discussions and development of those ideas, AI is then helping me develop questions for the reading. And this question's an interesting one for this week, because literally it is, given the current clown parade of humanity, what part of my soul is face planting the least? And then how can I follow that? And I think that's a really great question to ask the tarot cards, because we're coming up now on a full moon, which will be a clearing time. And that's Thursday. The energies of the full moon, however, really start to kick in tomorrow, and will build over the 2 days to the full moon and then recede it for the 2 days after. And that's a transition from a nurturing period to a cleansing period. And in this last bit of the nurturing, we're seeing flower all this sort of chaos and insanity. But you have to remember that within that is also growing all the seeds and the bulbs and the springtime to come that we have cultivated to bring good and beauty into the world around us. So yes, we are seeing a lot of chaos as both the weeds and the plants have been growing under this recent moon sign, and things are coming to the surface and we're seeing them. But when this moon goes full, will be a time to start to pull out the weeds, that is, the plants that you don't want growing there. And they may well be plants you want growing somewhere else. And your garden, like mine, might be full of what some people think are weeds, but I see as medicines. So when I say the word weed, that is only the plant that is not functioning to serve the greater purpose in that place in the ground. And it may have another place it needs to be to function. So we are coming now to see in this last lead up to the full moon where these things are that aren't functioning for us in a good way. And then we're going to have an opportunity to clear those things. So I think it's really appropriate to recognize that we go through this process over and over in our lives, and we survive. And if we survive, it's because there is something we're doing that isn't the face plant, right? So there are a lot of face plants. We all get that. And we see a lot of people go through that right now, and we'll see more of that. But what about the ones in ourselves that come through these trying times in a good way? When we proceed through it, there's something in us leading us through it in a good way. What is that thing? What is it, and how can we better follow it? And so that's what I'm going to pull cards on for this week. And if you'll hold tight, I'll bring you down and we'll get the show on the road. I should say, don't forget to click the like, hit subscribe. I don't do memberships. This is entirely a free channel. However, if you will subscribe and like it and get it out there, potentially in the future, there may be an opportunity for me to earn a little something off of advertising or whatever they do on YouTube. That's not really the primary function of this, but I'd sure appreciate it if you'd help me out anyway. All right, hold on and I'll bring you down. Alrighty, so we'll use the Crow Tarot and the Mystical Shaman Pocket Oracle for this reading. I have already pre-shuffled, but I will shuffle a few more times now and we'll draw on the question, given the current clown parade of humanity, what part of our soul is face palming the least? And how can we follow that part forward? What is the thing in us that face palms the least in our souls, and how can we follow that part forward? How do we identify that part in us that does stay connected? And here's, oops, sorry about that, folks. Let's see, let me get this right. The part that hears the right path, that intuitive part of us that knows and takes us the right way. Like what is that part of us, and how can we follow that forward? All right, that one wanted to stay on the top, so we'll go with those. And the clarifying cards. What is it in our soul that does the best for us? And how do we follow that? Oh. All right. It's going to be an interesting reading. I'm very curious. Okay, signifier for this one is the Page of Pentacles. That's that really is saying, you know, this is that part of your soul. Okay, so it's the youthful part of well-being. It's the one that heralds well-being. It's the part of your soul that tells you what is good for you. And that is clarified by the Witness. So it's like this part of your soul that critiques, watches, witnesses your experience and heralds the way, sort of like puts out the message, go this way, look over here. The Challenge, 3 of Wands. You know, this is when you're challenged by all your other intentions getting in the way. So it's the quiet part of your being. And there are these 3 other parts. I talk about the 4 parts of the soul. David Little Elk talks about that as part of Lakota Star Knowledge, ancient teachings. I talk about it also in terms of energy, emotion, the mind, and the physical body as the 4 parts. And so this is saying that this quiet part of the soul that directs us is challenged by our reliance on these other things. And that is clarified by beloved. Yes, because in a sense, we so cherish the energy, right? Like it's sacred and it's a Sunday thing and you go into prayer and there is a sacredness to it. Don't get me wrong. But it's something that because of that, we tend not to rely on it in everyday life. Like we feel that somehow that separates it from constant and everyday daily use. Also, there is this aspect of we we really love to get involved in things about emotions or intellectual pursuits or physical pursuits. We enjoy those things so much that we fail to listen to the inner guidance that might be telling us those aren't good for you at this moment. What we have control of, the Knight of Pentacles, this is about taking actions for well-being. We have control over the actions for well-being that we take. And that's clarified by the owl and whether or not they are wise. That's what we have control over. Whatever's going on in our lives, whatever anyone else forces you into, we, through all of this, through all the chaos, have control over the actions of the wise actions of well-being that we take. In the past, recent events affecting it is the King of Pentacles. There has been someone directing the exterior well-being most recently. Like all this chaos is affecting and directing the exterior well-being. And that's clarified by the moon. And that is like in these cycles. We see these cycles. And they, in some regards, the moon is like this. We go through phases where the well-being is tended according to the moon. You know, sometimes we're nurturing and sometimes we're clearing. And so there's this cyclical effect of directing the exterior well-being. But it's also about some things happening when there's no light, in the dark. Things happen in the light and the dark. So when you are directing the exterior well-being, it's affecting all phases and all aspects of light of the moon. You know, light on the subject. What we can't control, the Emperor. We cannot control the exterior direction of the world. You can work on your own actions, wise actions of well-being. You cannot direct the world. The heart of the sky is the clarifier. You know, there is an emperor over the earth in my theory, which is essentially Shka, the sky, this who is like our father to the Maha, earth, our mother. And really what happens with our atmosphere and the sky and the things that come out of the sky have more to do with directing the world than we do. We cannot control the bigger elements of the planet. We may try, we may think we can, but in order to create these individual actions of wise well-being, we cannot control what is coming to the planet from above in this aspect of this reading. What our intentions create, you know, if we're talking about getting through things, it's like this, you can't control things that come out of the blue from the government or from the controlling things of the planet. Our current intentions are not good. There's this desire to run around shouting at windmills, poking at windmills, trying to bring down this what we think of as perhaps an unjust situation. And so this indicates that in those times when we get through, our mind is not a very good use. It leads us down destructive paths We get we generate destructive ideas under the pressure of wanting certain things to go a good way, not being able to see the cycles, not being able to control things beyond our control, and then it creates an intention in us that's self-harming in a sense. And that is clarified by the blade. You know, it's a desire for truth. It's in a desire for truth that we may cross boundaries, lose respect, stop thinking clearly, point fingers inappropriately. You know, you start casting around for someone to take the blame, I think is what this is saying. That's our intention, is to figure out who's to blame and bring them down. How we see ourselves, the sun. So this is about, you know, seeing ourselves as having a divine right to be here just by the existence of, you know, a beautiful sunny day. When you are here and you're in a good place and everything is beautiful, there is a sense of belonging, connection, a right to be here. And that's really what this is saying. This is how we see ourselves, is we should have things be beautiful and good. And that's clarified by the tree of life. You know, that this life should be good. Life is about growth, and it should be good. The environment in which we sit, Ace of Pentacles. This is about having to assess our well-being. You know, this is like being back at square one, in a sense. It's also about getting help from well-being, being offered to us or coming in divinely. Like in this beautiful world where life is growth, there's always new well-being coming in from the life field itself to us. And that is clarified by luminous warrior. You know, this is really talking about these energy intelligences of the life field, that, you know, we're here, but they are also here, and they also contribute, bringing in new well-being. Hopes and fears, Knight of Wands. This is about passionate actions. You know, people, we really want to live in a good way and move and do things. People stop doing things and get shut down when their passions are shut down. But we have passion, which is an emotional response to energy. And that passion is what drives us to take actions. And so it can be in moments where we're trying to figure our way out and we want to see the truth, but we're unable to get to the truth. There's no one showing the way to the truth, perhaps. We have a hope and concern in people being driven by purely passion. That's one way to read this. And that's clarified by magic. Yeah. So we know that there is that in passionate action there is great strength and power and presence, and it can move the ball down the field, right? It works in a kind of magical way that we translate energy into passion, into action, and it creates things. And so there is both hope and fear in that. Even in the darkest hours, our soul knows that if the right passion gets fired, it can have a magical effect. And so the final outcome of what part is our soul is face palming the least, and how do we follow that part forward? Chaos. It's interesting. It's actually in the chaos itself, in the competition of the passions within us, is where we have to find this part somewhere in the chaos itself. This passion must emerge to us to follow. And that's clarified by the seer. And, you know, this is like you have to look at the chaos from an intuitive standpoint and see which is the passion that leads to the magic. That's very strong. Read, something to really consider. Bottom of the deck is the Fool. This is about being able to, this is the part of our soul that can look at things as if they're new, always, ever, as if they're new. As clarified by fire, which is passion, new passion. So what this seems to be saying to me is, given the current clown parade, what part of our soul is face palming the least, and how can we follow that part? It's the newest passion. The newest passion has face planted the least. But I am not certain that this is telling us that then you should follow that. Because what this is saying is that you need to look at all the chaos and all the passions and see with an intuition which is the right one to take up. And when we do that, it has a magic effect. It changes things for us. You know, this is talking about in those dark night of the soul moments, if you will center and you will consider from a rational point of view and connected to the energy of your whole divine consciousness and right to be here, something out of this chaos will emerge that you will see that you can use to take a new way, to change something, to do something, to move, to leave a job, to take a job, to change the way you eat, to drink more water, whatever it is. There will be something that comes out of that chaos that we can follow. And that's what this process is about. It's a simple earth process. It's a cyclical earth process. Well, that's my read of it anyway. Hold on, and I'll bring you up and we'll close it out. All right, well, I think that's interesting. You know, for the week ahead, how does this help us? I think you're going to see, leading up to Thursday, which is the full moon, a whole bunch of things coming up. It's going to look really kind of chaotic. The moon's going to happen. Things will start to calm down. And then as we approach the 10th of December, which is the height of the clearing part of the full moon cycle, the midpoint, where the clearing is the strongest from the point of the full moon back to the new moon. And that midpoint is a day for enormous transformation through clearing of the non-productive, non-useful elements of the chaos that need to be put away, that are not functioning, not serving any higher good. So that's what I think. As next week, when we get really close to the 10th of December, I'll do a reading just specifically on that date. But as it stands right now, I think that is a very important date for humanity, a clearing date that's going to have a ripple effect for positive good throughout the world in some probably major ways, but we'll see how that pans out, and we'll read on that next week. So in the meantime, leave me your comments, click like, click subscribe, do the stuff, and have a great week. And I'll see you in a week. All right? Love you guys.